Hi, everyone. Welcome to Source Snack Break. I am Ren with Source. Today is Monday, June 29th. And before we get started, I'll tell you a couple things about the webinar tool. You're all muted automatically, but you do have access to the live chat. So you can pop in your favorite emoji to try it out, or you can use the live chat to ask questions or comment. And any questions you have, we will be sure we answer during the presentation. So bring it on. We love questions. We'll also be sending you a recording of the presentation after we're done, so you can refer to it or send it to a friend, whatever you'd like. So today we have Mariel with Solus. Hey, how are you? Can you tell us a little bit about your background and a little bit about Solus before we jump into this beautiful line of lighting?
Yeah, so I am a theater lighting designer by trade who ended up working in the architectural world because I wanted to stop eating ramen for the rest of my life. I really got sucked into like the three-dimensionality of architectural lighting. I really like that aspect of it. So I worked in Puerto Rico for a rep for about 7 years. And then got offered a position up here in Portland with Solus. So I've been with them now for 7 years.
I love that.
And Solus is a lighting representative company, which means that we represent about 100 different manufacturers.
That is so many.
Yeah, it's a lot. I will say, right, like a bunch of those are like sort of conglomerates, right? So there's about 25 of those that are part of Cooper Lighting, right? So there's 20, like Cooper Lighting is one. So if you put Cooper as one, then we represent about 80 manufacturers. So, and some of those are, commercial lines. Like we'll talk about Lumium that are more linear, more for commercial spaces, ambient lighting. And then we represent a really large breadth of beautiful European decorative manufacturers like Studio Italia, which we will talk about today as well.
Awesome. Okay. So before we start, we're going to be talking about Studio Italia. Can you talk about them as a company, a little bit about them?
So this is Lumium, yeah. So these that you're seeing here, the table lamp and the tiny, that's called the A-Tube Nano. Those are two of Studio Italia's products. Actually, where you're seeing on the right-hand side, I believe it's a custom product from ALW. So that's one of our manufacturers. That is the Lumium product that
Let's talk about Lumium. Sorry, I jumped the gun. Let's talk about Lumium.
It's perfectly fine. So Lumium is a smallish manufacturer out of California. They manufacture everything in-house. They actually got bought by EcoSense, which is another manufacturer represent about 1.5 years ago, which was really good because they sort of streamlined all their manufacturing. But it is 100% made in the US. What I love about them, there's a lot of things that I love about them, but one of the things that I love about them is that they work with these really cool shapes, as you can see here. This is the carbon one and the palladium. These are and the other thing that I love about them is their website is really easy to use. Just by looking at the pictures, you can tell whether the fixture has an integral driver, whether it's direct and indirect or just in one direction. They have them divided by shapes, and all the fixtures are named after elements in the periodic table.
Oh, fun.
So all the round series are named oxygen because of O. So, and they have really great optics. They'll do some batwing distributions for the top, and that just goes into just creating better distributions so your fixtures can be further apart and you have a more even level of light. They do these machined end caps that look really pretty. Again, they just have a lot of really fun shapes, and there's a lot of things you can do with them. You can actually grab that fixture and hang it, the palladium, which is the one on the top. You can surface mount it just like that against the wall or against the ceiling. So you just have these two lines of light going in these directions. Yeah. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that you can do with them. And they kind of cover the breadth of sort of the first layer of light that we will talk about, which is that ambient lighting, right? Because they have these great optics and they're linear fixtures. They also have these really cool attachments that lets you do angles that can be adjusted in the field, which we've actually have done here in Portland for a job where they weren't sure where the HVAC was going to end up. So we put those corners in, and then they would fold the fixtures kind of around where they needed to go around the HVAC.
So you used the term earlier, integral driver. For asking for a friend, what does that mean?
So in the linear world, so in the decorative world, most of the time you're going to find fixtures that have a remote driver, which means that the driver is not housed within the fixture. It has to be placed somewhere else. That means you bring low voltage power to the fixture, and that low voltage power goes to the driver, and that driver is somewhere else. That tends to be pretty typical in the decorative world. In the commercial world, especially in Portland, because we do so many structure ceilings, like open ceilings without any real, gyp or T-grid. We try to avoid sometimes those remote drivers because there's nowhere to put them. So when you're looking at a fixture like, oh, this is beautiful, it has a remote driver. That might be a consideration. And you might want to look, and instead of the carbon 1, you might want to look at the carbon 2, which doesn't have that empty space in the middle in the curve, but that's where the driver goes. Those are things that we at Solus are always paying attention to when we get a set of plans from a lighting design, from an interior designer, and they go, hey, I have this space. What can I put in here? So those are some of the questions we're going to ask.
Got it. So what I'm hearing is designers always reach out.
Hopefully, yes, they do. I don't work with a lot of interior design firms. Julie, who's doing our next Solus snack group, brings a lot more of them. But the few interior design firms that I work with, I feel and I appreciate that they rely on me a lot for, hey, I have this space. What do I need to do here? Can I use this fixture? Can I not? What's your recommendation?
Got it. I love that. All right, so let's talk about Studio Italia. This is some mega delicious stuff. Can you talk about them as a company? Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Yeah, so they are a pretty old company. They've been around for 70. They actually just celebrated their 70th anniversary. And for some reason, they've kind of changed their name to Load as of like 2 weeks ago, maybe. I'm still calling them Studio Italia. Their website is still Studio Italia. So that's what we're going to call them for now. But they make Murano glass, like hand-blown Murano glass fixtures. That is their thing. They also do a lot of metal fixtures as well now, but that was how they got started. They have transitioned most of the fixtures that they make into LED now, which is great because not every European manufacturer has kind of made that leap yet. So that makes them very unique. And they also, the other thing that differentiates them from other manufacturers of decorative product is that they actually work a little bit on their optics, and their fixtures can be used for several of the different layers when we talk about those layers of light, right? So we talked about aluminum and that ambient light. When you're layering light in a space, you're taking into consideration how much light you want to have versus dark spaces and what you want the eye to be attracted to. So you have that ambient light, which would be created by your aluminum, and then you need your accent lighting, right? To sort of highlight these are spaces you want to look into. You might want some wall washing or wall grazing, which we'll show an example at the end. Or you might just need, just some task lighting. One of the great things about a fixture like this one, the Spider, which I love, and you're not seeing it here, but they have, one of the great things about Studio Italia is that they have all of these canopies. They have small round canopies, large round canopies, rectangular canopies, and they have one that they call actually the Spider, which is a round canopy with up to 12 outputs.
Wow.
So you get this round canopy in the ceiling, and then you do this sort of spider web out of that canopy in whatever direction you want. And you can
really create like a fixture that is like the focal point.
Yeah. And you can grab, you can put one of these, or you can grab these and put 12 at different heights, at different colors, and make sort of a custom chandelier thing that isn't really custom. So it doesn't carry that custom price.
I love that.
And this fixture, if you can actually see it on the picture on the right-hand side, it aims 90 degrees and 360. So what I love about this fixture is that you can use it to aim down, or you can angle it towards a wall or towards an object, because you can move it around. So if you had a spider with a spider of like 5 of these spider fixtures, you could actually be highlighting, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different things in the space.
Got it.
You could be using the same fixture, for your ambient as well as your accent.
Wow. Okay. So this one really can do a lot for you as a designer.
Yes. And it also comes, they have a brand new color, which is the one on the top hand left, which is called matte champagne. So this fixture comes in the matte champagne. It comes in white. That one on the bottom looks, at least in my screen, it looks gray. It's actually a matte white. There's also a matte black, and it comes in the rosé, which you will see when we look at the nostalgia.
All right. So let's talk about puzzle. This one's super fun. I love this.
This is a really fun fixture. It also is one of the highest lumen output fixtures that they have, which is weird because when you see it, it doesn't seem that way because it's so close to the wall. But this is a great focal point fixture because those pieces actually move, which is why it's called puzzle. And you can move them up, backwards, and you can also just sort of do this with them, and you can put them on the ceiling, you can put them on the wall, you can create an arrangement of them next to each other, so you're creating all of these layers of light on your walls or on your ceilings.
Wow.
This one only does come in the white and the black.
But it's really cool because you can create something perfect for your space. Like you can really customize it to the exact specifications of the space that you're creating. Like really create a whole experience is what I'm hearing.
Yes, it can, right? So if you have a really long wall and you wanted to break it up, you can put these at different, like lengths and heights of the wall and sort of create these spaces. And because you can move it once it's in the space, the designer could technically come in and just kind of move them around, or like, hey, we're tired of this, let's move them around again.
Wow. Okay.
So it creates a really nice, and it just, you can see, especially I feel that picture in the middle with the diamond, you can see what a cool beam of light it creates around it. Which is really nice.
Sweet. And so when a designer is working with a product like this one, do you have like Revit models, or are there things that they can integrate into their models so that they can really start to see how dynamic it can be?
Yeah, we do have Revit models. Sometimes the issue with the Revit models is that they're only show the fixture in one dimension, right? So it won't let you necessarily play with it as much, I think.
Got it.
But we do have Revit models for almost everything in this particular line. Not all of our decorative manufacturers have Revit models, but a lot of them do. And the ones that don't are working really hard to put them in. So the other day I was working with Marcette. I needed a Revit file. It took them about 3 weeks, but they got it to me. Like they created the Revit file for me.
Great. That is so helpful for designers, especially with lighting, because finding a good Revit model is really difficult.
Yeah, we have them. And sometimes they have a lot of information in them and you'll have to turn off a few layers unless you want your Revit model to take forever to load up. And sometimes it's just the shape. It depends on how the manufacturer did it.
Got it. All right, so let's talk about nostalgia, which I think is super fun. Can you talk about how a designer would go about specifying this? Because it looks like there's a lot of cool parts.
So one of the great things about Studio Italia is that they have a configurator online and it is really easy to use. So you just go online, you say configure, and it shows you all of the different fixtures that they have that can be made into multiples. And then it has you select which type of canopy, all those canopies that I mentioned before. And then you just sort of click and drag all of the fixtures in the different colors and sizes that you want.
It's like immediate satisfaction.
It is. You have to play with it a little bit to get the hang of it, but I just played with it right before we did this, just to make sure that it really did work before I promoted it. But if you're kind of trying to play with it and you're having a hard time, you guys will get my contact information. Feel free to just go ahead and call me or email me. This is actually my favorite Studio Italia fixture. Don't tell the other ones, but this is my favorite. It actually has 2 brand new colors, which you can see on the top left-hand corner, that copper, they call it a warm copper, and the smoky. Originally, this fixture came in the gold and the rosé and the clear and the chrome. This fixture, you really has to be seen in person, and we do have a sample of it if anybody wants to see it, because when it's off, it goes opaque. And then when you turn it on, it goes transparent.
Oh, wow.
But still with the colors there. So it actually is even a different experience when it's on than when it's off.
We had our first question, actually. Can you do custom colors with this one?
So this is hand-blown glass, so no. Studio Italia doesn't do a lot of customs or modifications. So their fixtures, I will say that for them, that is why they have so many sort of options when it comes to the canopies and the hangings, because they can't really modify these hand-blown glass pieces very much.
Got it. Okay, can you talk a little bit about what Murano glass is and how it relates to lighting? Like, what should designers keep in mind or tell their clients when they're speccing something that is hand blown? Are there things to keep in mind that they should let their clients, know about?
That it will need to be cleaned. I mean, it will need to be cleaned if people put their hands all over it. But no, I think if you're looking at the really good size of it, is that each piece is always going to be unique because they're not made by a machine. So there's something, and then there's just something. We have 2 different manufacturers that do hand blown glass, them and Vistosi. And when you hold one of these pieces in your hands, you can just feel, right, the weight and the way that it's made and how just beautiful this piece of glass is. Murano glass, if I'm not mistaken, is something that's been hand blown in Italy for hundreds of years. And they started integrated lighting into it close to 100 years ago. The other manufacturer that worked for Vistosi has been doing it for close to 100 years.
Wow.
So there is a very long-standing tradition, and they work with a lot of just big name designers in Europe that design these fixtures for them.
Sweet. So when it comes to the nostalgia, would a designer pick the shape, the color, and how many of them they would like, and that's how they start to build it?
Yeah, and they can do one. So funny enough, they call them the small, the medium, and the large, and it has to do with their diameter. So the small is about 5 inches in diameter. They're all about 8 inches tall, even though they don't even look the same height. They all are the same height. But the small, which is the one that looks like the narrowest, it's about 5 inches at its thickest. The next one is about 7, and then the last one is 11.
Sweet.
So the really fat one is about 11 inches in diameter at the thickest part. And they can do 1, they can do 2, 3, there's a great picture online. If you're just scrolling through the nostalgia page of just dozens of them down this sort of canopy that is like up in the ceiling. So it's like a ceiling that has like a skylight almost in it. And then they just sort of did a river of them down that entire thing.
Wow.
So you can put as many of them up as you want. And yeah, the idea with these is that you pick different shapes and different colors and mix and match them. But if you wanted to do them all in pink, that's fine. Or sorry, rosé.
I love that.
All in chrome, that's fine as well.
Got it. Cool. So can we talk a little bit about this layers of light concept? Since you are a theater designer, I think you really understand what it means to create layers of light and how to sort of make an interior space be very vibrant using light. Can you talk a little bit about how designers should think about lighting and what they should keep in mind when trying to create a space that is vibrant using light?
Yeah, I actually just sent you this picture this morning because I think it's a perfect example of what is really well done and what I maybe would have done better at the same time. This space is, it's a restaurant, right? So there's a different feel that you want to create in it. And all of your spaces, normally I teach a 1 hour long class of quality lighting and how to do it. And I spend quite a bit of time, depending on my audience, talking about precisely the difference between an office space where you just kind of want this more uniform type of light and a lot of ambient lighting with maybe a few accent points, because that's what you need for the space and that's what you should do, versus a retail space where you want to have a lot of accent points, detailing, making your eye go to the merchandise, versus where you still want a lot of ambient light so people can get around, versus a place like this, which is hospitality, where you're really looking for that feel of comfort and intimacy. So you're relying more on those accent pieces. I love that they actually, if you look at this project online, they use the puzzle, which is that fixture that you're seeing there, which also comes in the chrome and the matte black and the matte white. And it also moves in every direction. There's even a double version, the one that you're seeing on the wall, which splits up like this and it moves like that. I love that they're creating this really great drama in that back wall using that puzzle with the narrow optic. And I love that they also used it as a wall wash on the left-hand side. However, it bothers me that they're doing a wall wash because that is a really cool sort of bamboo wooden textured wall. And by washing it, which means that you're placing the light at least 24 inches from the wall, they have flattened out that texture.
Got it. So they found a way to accent the texture rather than washing it out.
Exactly. So that is the big difference between wall washing and wall grazing, right? I would have washed the paintings on the right-hand side because those are flat and you want those to see the whole thing and you want it to be flat. And I would have done the technique that they're doing on the back wall on that wooden wall, which is called wall grazing, which means that you put your lights as close as possible to the surface you're trying to light. And then when you're shooting that light up or down, you are actually bringing out the textures because you're creating shadows. So that is probably one of the questions that I get the most. What is the difference between a wall wash and a wall graze? Well, a wall wash is that, right? You're washing a wall of light, you're making it flat, and you're trying to make most of it very visible and very easy to read, for example. Whereas when you're grazing it, you're putting the light as close as possible, and you're creating drama and shadows. So if you paid $20 a square foot for this fantastic wood, you want all of those textures to come out. And the way to make those textures come out is to do that
great shadow. Yeah, I love that because it's similar to like water. You know what I mean? In some places you want the water to be very flat. In some places you want it to be very dynamic because that's what makes it cool. So you're doing the same thing with light and you can sort of create that, you can amplify that texture using that light.
Yes, exactly. Just like, again, like you walk, you can almost tell what price a retail store, like the price range of a retail store by how specific their lighting is, right? If you
Ooh.
walk into a store and you suddenly see that all their displays are perfectly lit. One of the things that I will mention about Studio Italia that's very unique to them is that most of their fixtures are 90 CRI, which means that they have fantastic color rendering. So
Oh,
if your colors are important to you, these fixtures are going to help those colors look as good as they can.
nice.
And they only come in 27 and 3000 Kelvin for the most part. So that's also something to take into consideration, the color temperature of the lights.
Got it. Designers, do you have any more questions? As you can tell, you know so much about lighting, especially with your theater background. Super helpful because, again, we're creating theater in space as designers. We're just living in it. So I love that. I'm not sure we have any more questions, but the good news is, designers, you can head right to Source and ask Mariel whatever questions you have right now. Immediate satisfaction. Get that sample in your hand. And designers, if you're interested, we did just release all of our snack breaks for the next 2 weeks. So if you want to sign up for another snack break, smash that register now button and we'll see you again soon. But Mariel, it was great to talk lighting with you. It's so informative. I do think this is an aspect that designers don't really get a lot of information about. And so it's really lovely to like dig into those details with you.
Well, anytime or any other topic you guys want me to cover, just let me know. And feel free to send me emails with anything you need.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks, designers. We'll see you again soon. Bye.
Bye.